Procrastination is not so much a discipline problem as it is an emotional problem. So today I'm going to be going over why we procrastinate and what we can do in order to keep ourselves from procrastinating in the future. How's it going? My name's Drew and I'm here to help you figure your shit out while I figure my shit out. Procrastination is something that most of us do, and we actually don't even catch ourselves doing it until it's too late. And this is based on how we are wired. So before I get into what to actually do, we need some context as to why things are the way they are. So our brains have two settings, essentially, that keep us going. The first is we always need to be on the hunt. We are always actively seeking something. We are wired to be constantly searching for food, shelter, and all of those great things that we have now. In a modern context, we don't need those things anymore. So now, instead of hunting for food and those types of things, we hunt for things on social media, information, pleasure, excitement, anything that drives dopamine for our brains to pop off. And the next thing that our brain is meant to do is chill out and reserve energy. So our brain is so calorically demanding that in order for it to be able to operate at the level that it needs to, it has to have rest. That is why after we are constantly searching for things on social media all day, we don't have any motivation at the end of the day to do the things we know we should, and that's why we resort to Netflix and going and socializing and drinking with friends, because that's our brain's way of chilling out so it can go and essentially search for more of those things tomorrow. And because of these two mechanisms in the brain, this is where we get friction as to we know we need to be working towards a goal, yet we just go home and watch Netflix and do nothing with the evening, and then the next day we regret the decisions that we made. Relaxing is wired into us. However, the hunt that we need to search for is also our innate desire within us to want to pursue meaning and purpose. So based on that knowledge, how can we prevent procrastination, or how can we push through when we don't really feel like doing the thing that we know we should? We have to learn to set guidelines. Guidelines, rules, things to follow are important for us because they give us a sense of structure. And when we have a sense of structure, we gain a lot more clarity. And this is why, you hear from like Jocko Willink how discipline is freedom. Once you get things set in stone on paper, you know what you're supposed to be doing. Your brain doesn't have to think and decide so many things on what it should do. It's going to go to the essentially the path of least resistance. And if there's something already lined out that it doesn't have to figure out, it's going to prefer to do the thing that you know you should be doing. So for me, this was filming more videos and actually starting on YouTube rather than just going out and constantly looking for more information or that silver bullet. Our brains love congruency. So when we set guidelines and do the things we say we're going to, our brain does everything in its power to make sure that that happens. Our brains need the world to make sense to us. And in order for the world to make sense to us, it wants to give us the things that we consistently say we are going to or say about ourselves. And that's why it's so important to write the things down that you say you're going to do and then do them. It's actually wired for your brain to want to do that. So you might as well take advantage of the great thing that is already innate in all of us. A lot of us have anxiety. What you have to understand about anxiety, it also comes from a place of desperation. It comes from a place of not enjoying something that you're doing. That's why it's important to, if you are going out like on a creative endeavor of some sort, you have to explore things that you genuinely, truly care about. If you don't, and you do what everyone else says you should do, you're going to burn out, because regardless of what anybody says, there is an emotional element to motivation and pushing yourself to do the things that you want to do. So it's so important that you find something that you are at least remotely curious about and explore that and learn about it and teach others about it. But when you start doing the things that you say you should do, shoulds are anxiety promoters. When we think of terms of how things should be, but we fail to look at how things actually are in the moment, we don't have an ability to work from a place of abundance and opportunity because we're so focused on the things that are wrong about right now. After we figure out our curiosities and the things we want to explore, it's time to lock the shit in. The first thing that we need to do is compartmentalize where we're going to put our energy. So list things out in the order of importance. And really, I think most people, at least this is just my experience, I can really only focus on about 3 different goals at one time. Outside of that, everything else it's not very efficient. So for powerlifting and fitness in my early 20s, most of my decisions that I chose to focus on and level of importance was my nutrition and then my training. And it certainly showed as I was able to work up to over an 1,800 pound total in powerlifting, which is statistically speaking an insane amount. I mean, international elite level powerlifting was something I was really working for, and I made it because I was able to, regardless of what happened, I was hitting 5 workouts a week, I was hitting every training session, and I was sticking to my diet. Everything else kind of revolved itself around that in my life. And when you do that, it's funny how life kind of shapes to the way that you want it to be, simply because you compartmentalize everything and you add a priority gauge. So then it gives you a much clearer idea of what you need to be doing in order to get to the goal that you want to go to. This isn't something that's going to work like immediately. It does take some time, but you have to understand where your focus needs to go, because where your focus goes, energy flows. Now, once we've compartmentalized everything, the key ingredient to all of this is your belief. You may not have the beliefs now. You may even think it is so far off for you to be even able to think in that regard. But beliefs come from the actions that we take. So if you think about anything that you've ever done, even if you have a habit of just sitting on the couch watching Netflix all night, at some point you had to start that habit. And for a long time, you may not have the belief that you were that type of person, but now all of a sudden you are. Same goes for smokers. Smokers identify with an action that they've just taken over time. So beliefs come from action. However, it is also an emotional thing. So it's important that whenever you start taking these actions, you try to develop that sense of fulfillment and joy in doing something, even for a split second, because over time, you're going to trick yourself into wanting to do more of that thing. And I've certainly found that through these videos. And even if I go back now and look at my first videos to now, I have slowly started to progress in my ability on camera. And so for me, this solidified the whole self-signaling aspect, which is what in psychology, which is basically things you tell yourself that you're going to do and then you do it. You're signaling to yourself that you are acting in alignment with the things that you say you're going to do. So in order to get that belief, you have to at least act, and then everything else just kind of opens itself up for you to actually be able to consistently pursue the goals that you say you want to pursue. And another thing with emotions, whenever the more that we hype ourselves up to do the thing that we say we want to do and that we want out of life, we hardwire that emotion and that feeling with the thoughts that we are having while we're doing that thing. And if that emotion is present, then we are going to naturally want more of that emotion. And then those thoughts are just going to keep feeding back and back and back until it's locked into your subconscious, and then things just become automatic. I found that I had a point where I burned out. So you need to focus on rest. We have to give our brains time to relax. And the thing about relaxation and time, it's all unique and individual for each person. Some people can work for 100 hours a week, no problem. Other people can genuinely only work 40 hard hours. The key to not burning out is understanding your limit, because regardless of what anybody says, consistency over time is the number one key to all of this. But 2, if you can enjoy the process, how I've seen fitness and like just success in other areas of life that I've had, it's if you're just willing to outlast other people, you're going to eventually get to the place that you want to be. You outlast how long other people typically stay on a diet, you're going to get better results than everybody else. Same thing goes for what I believe would be the case with money, is that the more you just keep putting things back and keep investing into yourself and keep trying to work on your skills and doing things, at some point, like, you're going to outlast everybody else and you are going to get the things that you know that you deserve. If you find yourself burning out, take a step back and look at realistically how much you can do. So I've found that whenever we set goals, there's always a goal that we say we want to hit, like as far as in the process. So like for me at first, I was like, I want to produce 3 videos a week. And then reality set in and I was like, one is pretty much kind of ideal. And even sometimes that's kind of hard for where I'm at right now. But I feel like sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves and almost set the bar a little bit lower until we hit that consistently enough to then know we can go higher. So that's another thing if you are experiencing burnout, but you don't want to fully pull off the gas. Discipline is a byproduct of the systems and everything that you put in place. There is something that I think most people also overlook, and discipline, from one, understanding that what you're currently doing is not getting the results that you need. So you have to know that you have to change and see yourself basically as a completely different person if you actually want different results from what you are currently getting. We do discipline for the wrong reasons. We tend to do it because people say, oh yeah, you should be disciplined. For what? Why are you being disciplined? You have to see it as a way to get you to your goal, not necessarily just to be disciplined for the hell of being disciplined. George R.R. Martin, the writer of the Game of Thrones series, he writes when he feels like it. So it's also something so unique about everybody that certain things are just going to work for certain people because we all have different skill sets of different types of things. Discipline itself isn't really the problem. It's a desire problem that you're seeing as being a discipline problem. When we desire something bad enough, we will do whatever it takes to get it. If we feel like we are underwater and we need air, we will fight like hell to get air, right? There's a certain level of desire that we have to have. So that's also where going back, talking to yourself, hyping yourself up, doing, journaling exercises or visualization, whatever helps you get hyped up. Sometimes it's just going for a walk outside and listening to something inspiring. Like, either way, you have to be able to hype yourself up and really see the goal that you want from your future self. Our brains don't care about what's actually happening. It just cares about the emotions and the things that we feel when we give it that. So, we hear the saying, neurons that fire together wire together. Well, if your brain notices, hey, Drew gets really excited about doing this thing every single time, we probably just need to put this on autopilot so we can conserve energy. So if you can crank that shit up, you're going to be shocked at how much more you actually fit in and how much more you actually want to do, because it's so exciting changing who you are and becoming who you want to be. If you found this valuable, you can follow me on Twitter. You can like and subscribe. That would be fantastic, and I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave something in the comments. Other than that, figure your shit out. I'll see you later.